The rumble of motorcycles echoed through the quiet streets of Miller's Creek that night, a sound everyone in the small town recognized and instinctively feared. The Iron Vultures, a notorious biker gang led by a man named Colt Warren, had just rolled into town after months away on the road. They were the kind of men people crossed the street to avoid, tattooed, leather-clad, and wrapped in the kind of silence that carried weight. But what no one knew that night was that something extraordinary was about to unfold, something that would shake the town's heart to its core. It would all begin with one quiet moment, inside a dimly lit diner at the edge of town, and a waitress whose silent suffering would awaken something unexpected in a man the world had already labeled a monster. If you believe in kindness, redemption, and second chances, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Tales, because stories like this remind us that light can come from the darkest corners. The midnight diner sat by the highway like a lonely lighthouse. Its neon sign flickered with a tired hum, barely holding on. Inside, the smell of burnt coffee and bacon grease lingered in the air. The waitress on duty that night, Emily Sanders, was young but looked far older than her years. At just 26, her eyes carried the weight of someone who had been through too much. Her hands trembled slightly every time she refilled a cup, her movements careful and cautious, like she feared every sound might spark trouble. And beneath the rolled sleeves of her uniform, faint bruises painted her pale skin, blue and yellow, fading yet fresh. Colt noticed them the moment she reached across the counter to set down his coffee. He didn't say a word, but something in his chest tightened. He'd seen bruises like that before, on his mother, when he was just a boy. Back then, he hadn't been strong enough to stop the man who caused them. Now, he was. The Iron Vultures weren't angels. They'd earned their reputation, the fights, the scars, the lawlessness. But inside Colt, under the leather and the smoke, was a man who'd learned that the world breaks people in different ways. And when he looked at Emily, he saw someone broken not by bad choices, but by someone else's cruelty. He watched as she flinched when a dish clattered in the kitchen, how she smiled automatically when anyone looked her way, but her eyes never truly met theirs. It wasn't just fear, it was defeat. As the night wore on, the other bikers joked and laughed loudly, their voices filling the diner. But Colt stayed quiet, watching her move between tables with that same careful grace, like a bird afraid to take flight. He paid his bill, left a tip larger than she probably made all night, and walked out. But something about her haunted him. He didn't sleep that night. The next day, when the Iron Vultures met at their old garage on the outskirts of town, Colt's mind wasn't on their business. He kept thinking about those bruises. Finally, late that afternoon, he found himself riding back to the diner. Emily was there again, same tired smile, same quiet sadness. But this time, he noticed something else, a dark figure waiting outside in a pickup truck, its engine running. When Emily stepped out to take the trash to the dumpster, the man leaned out the window and said something sharp. She froze, nodded, and hurried back inside. That's when Colt knew. He came back every evening that week, sitting at the same booth, saying little but watching everything. He noticed the way Emily always looked at the clock near closing time, the way her hands shook worse as it got later. And one night, when the truck outside followed her home, Colt followed it. He stayed far enough back not to be noticed, his bike's headlight off, his jaw clenched. The truck turned down a dirt road and stopped near a small, run-down trailer. From the shadows, Colt saw the man get out, tall, drunk, aggressive. Emily got out too, holding her arms defensively, shrinking back as the man yelled something, grabbing her by the wrist. That's when Colt's patience broke. The roar of his Harley shattered the quiet night. He pulled up fast, the sound alone making the man freeze. Emily gasped when she saw him. Colt got off his bike slowly, his eyes never leaving the man's. There was no shouting, no threats. Just silence. And then, with a calm voice that carried the weight of someone who'd had enough, Colt told him to leave her alone. The man, Emily's boyfriend, as Colt would later learn, laughed at first, sneered something cruel. But he didn't laugh for long. Colt didn't hit him right away, he didn't have to. He simply stepped forward, looked him dead in the eyes, and the man backed away. Something about Colt's presence, the quiet fury in him, was more terrifying than any threat. He left that night, slamming his truck door, tires spitting dirt as he sped away. Emily stood there in shock, shaking. Colt just nodded, said softly, "You're safe now," and turned to leave. But she called out to him, voice trembling, asking why he cared. He didn't have an answer. Maybe because once, no one cared for his mother. Maybe because sometimes people deserve to be saved without having to earn it. The next morning, word spread fast. People in town started talking, how the Iron Vultures leader had stepped in to protect a waitress. Some thought it was a stunt, some said it was about guilt, others said maybe he'd changed. But what followed proved it wasn't just a one-time act. Colt came by the diner every day after that, not to intimidate or show off, but to check on her. He helped fix her broken porch steps, brought her groceries, and quietly made sure the man who hurt her never came near again. For the first time in years, Emily started to smile, really smile. She began to believe that not everyone who looked rough was dangerous, and not everyone who smiled was kind. Slowly, she opened up about her past, how she'd run away from home at 17, met the wrong man, and ended up trapped. She'd stayed because she thought she had no one. But now, there was someone who saw her worth before she even saw it herself. Colt, too, began to change. The gang noticed it. He stopped talking about business so much, spent more time working on bikes with the younger members, teaching them about loyalty, not the kind that demanded silence, but the kind that meant standing up for what was right. Under his lead, the Iron Vultures began cleaning up their image. They started fixing broken bikes for free, helping stranded travelers, and one night, even donated money to rebuild the town playground that had burned down years ago. And through it all, Emily was there, working at the diner, stronger every day. The bruises faded, replaced by confidence. One night, as the town gathered for a local charity ride organized by the Vultures, people realized something had changed. The once feared gang was now leading a convoy of light and laughter through the streets. And at the front rode Colt, with Emily sitting behind him, wind in her hair, her arms around the man who once scared her, but who had become her protector. No one in Miller's Creek could have predicted it, the biker gang that once ruled through fear had become a symbol of hope. And it all began with a quiet waitress, a few bruises, and a man who decided that enough was enough. As the years went by, the diner flourished. People from other towns started stopping by, drawn by the story of the biker who saved the waitress. They came to see if it was true, and it was. Colt and Emily turned that lonely roadside diner into a place where no one ever felt alone again. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Tales, because somewhere out there, someone like Emily is waiting for kindness to find them. Speech balloon special request: comment below what part of this story moved you the most. Your words might just inspire someone else to believe in compassion again.